This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where FIRST Robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, the recording has been started. Welcome everybody to the Sunday night call. Tonight, our topic, we have a requested topic. I was talking to Lori Shimizu and a few other people over 10K weekend, and we decided now would be a good time to have a discussion about champs. So we're going to have a talk about everything champs in terms of how to get there and what to do while you're there and how to manage your team and your kids and your food and all of that other stuff. And I anticipate at the end of this call, we can wrap things up by having a chat about finances. I've talked to several teams this year who started building sort of a rainy day fund, nest egg savings, however you want to classify it, so that if someday in the future they make it to champs, they can actually afford to go. So once we get through all the logistical stuff, Katie's prepared a nice slide deck here. We can do a big Q&A about how different teams are fundraising for champs or saving for champs or whatever that might be. And for anyone who's here for the first time, if you didn't know about the roundtable before tonight, I will put in the chat here once we get kicked off. I'll put a link to a webpage on the Nightcrawler website. You can see all 71 of the videos that we've recorded for every roundtable in the last 3 years. You can get a list for a link to sign up for the mailing list. I send out usually every Friday for whatever the topic is of the week. And if you want to host a talk, there's a link there to sign up to host a talk. Right now, I don't believe we have any topics lined up between now and the end of the season. So if you have something you're interested in either learning about and you just want to host a conversation and say, tell me all about this, or if you have something you want to present, both of those options are completely and totally valid. Something new that we've started doing this year is a get to know my team. So far, we've had a get to know Mythic, get to know the gears, and get to know the megahertz. Those are really awesome sessions. And so if you'd like to share everything about your team, everything, how you pick captains, how you pick drive team, how you recruit, how you fundraise, how you organize, challenges, solutions, anything like that. Those are fantastic sessions, and we really love to hear teams come in and share with us how they run their team and some of their history. So anyway, I'll drop that link in the chat here. For those watching on YouTube, it's team2052.com/roundtable, all lowercase. And you can get all the info about the roundtable so you don't miss any future ones. And you can also get a link to the YouTube playlist so you can rewatch old roundtables. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I think Katie's going to kick us off here.
Sure.
And how do you want to run Q&A? Do you just want to have people raise their hand throughout? Any
I think
thoughts?
so.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a discussion by committee here. There were a lot of request topics and cover everything champs. So I've really just kind of put kind of an outline of some slides together to keep us on track. We figured we'd kind of go chronologically by looking at what to do ahead of time and then what to expect the first day you're there and then the competition days. And just maybe know that more topics are coming. So let's keep our Q&A to the sort of the section of topics that we're on, knowing that there will be time for the others as we go. I guess a quick introduction for those who don't know me. I'm Katie Bach, kind of a, retired mentor from 2052, and I'm one of the Minnesota lead robot inspectors. I'll also be a division LRI at Champs this year, and then I'll be passing the ball around to a bunch of other folks online here that can introduce themselves as we go. If I can get our slides to advance. So like I said, kind of organize the agenda by some sort of chronological topics. So first we'll dive into, things about before you leave, where to find information, all the registration and transportation types of logistics. I know Mike is on to talk about the Amazon truck option. I think, Scott, it sounds like fundraising. Maybe we'll keep that till the end. We'll focus on kind of the getting to champs first, and then we'll go into some specifics about what to expect the Wednesday of championship, a lot related to loading in, pits, inspection, etc. Then we'll go into the Thursday and Friday, or the competition days, what to expect those days, how to make the most of the event, and all the other things besides the robot competition. And then what to expect on the Saturday of championship, including, watching Einstein finale and loading out. Okay, so kind of diving in. First, where to find all of the information. So they have multiple event guides. So there's a main FRC landing page, a lot of information there and direct links to a lot of other things. There's an overall event guide and then an FRC specific addendum to it. And you can, grab the schedule. When it comes to the schedule, you kind of need to look at the overall championship schedule and then as well as the FRC specific information. So there is quite a bit of information to compile from different places. And they also have an app. And I have not started using the app yet this year, but I guess Nicole or Lori or anyone else want to say any more about all of the resources and where to find information?
It's in all of these places. Hi, I'm Lori Shimizu. I'm the Global Volunteer Coordinator for the FRC program. And it is my job to make sure that you have enough volunteers in Houston to run the program. So yeah, FIRST has a habit of hiding information in all of the above. So it is truly in your best interest to click on all of the tabs, open all of the resources. And yes, please download the 2025 FIRST Championship app. Today, they loaded in all the conferences and all the presenters for those conferences. So it has the schedule and things like that, because it's more than robots. There's a lot going on at the George R. Brown. So please take advantage of all of the resources that are online.
Thanks. So hopping back to just some of the other prompts about some of the other topics to know before you go. So registration, transportation, managing the hotel system. Brian, Nicole, Docile, anybody want to jump in and talk about some of those?
I don't know if Dossile's joined us yet. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm Mentor on 2052, also a global field supervisor. I don't think there's a lot new on registration front this year. The biggest change is, of course, the hotel system that we're all kind of familiar with. Or anyone who's started the process of going through the champs process is familiar with the new hotel system. I'll say we got our email. We registered last night for champs at like maybe 6 or 7. We ended up getting the email for the hotel system like 8:00 p.m. last night. So it was actually a lot faster than we expected. We also, I think, were kind of surprised by the number of hotels and it seemed like the prices were more or less what we expected from previous years doing it our own. And so, I think a lot of the fears maybe around increased costs and lack of availability, especially week 6, maybe didn't quite pan out that way. But I know there are some teams that have posted on Chiefs Delphi too that, they've maybe had a little bit more struggle getting the hotel rooms that they want at the prices they want. So we at least had some good success there. We're pretty happy with it. But yeah.
I will share that on the call that we had with the Megahertz last week, 2 weeks ago. Sam, their mentor, he registered through the hoteling system. He said that he got his hoteling invite the Thursday following their win. So we were expecting to get hotel stuff Wednesday, Thursday this week. Yeah. So it was kind of a shock for us to get that that email so early. So it was a pretty big scramble for us. If you do get off of the point list, I forget what that's whatever it is. If you get there you go. If you get out of the pool,
Tuesday, I think.
If you do get out of the pool, watch your email very closely. I know that Sam was saying that they had already pre-identified 5 hotels that they were hoping to get into after they won. And then when they got their hoteling list, they went out there and all 5 of those hotel rooms had no availability. And then he would go out and look a little bit more, and he'd find hotels that had 7 rooms, but he needed, I think, 11. And so it does take a bit of snooping. But having not gone through it in the first person, this is all kind of hearsay. Oh, Dassel's on. Dassel, do you want to share how it went for you today? Or Toby?
Yeah.
While also jumping in, I did want to say 2 other things on that. The first that I thought about was, so we qualified yesterday. Our deadline for payment is the 9th, which I think is Wednesday. Yeah. And similar with the hotels, we were able to, Dassel was able to book the hotels, and then we can pay within like a day. But we also need to have all of the rooms assigned to specific people by like I don't remember what the exact time is. Dassel, you might have it by tomorrow, basically. So there is a really tight turnaround there on both the payment for the rooms and on actually assigning people to those rooms. Sorry, go ahead, Dassel.
All good. Before I dive into kind of like what I saw today when I was going through the hotel system, Toby, you had a question?
Actually, I just wanted to make a comment. It's probably too late for everybody now, but it was really helpful to me that another mentor mentioned that the email, that all important email that we were looking for, only came for both of our teams to lead mentor 1. It didn't come to both. And that was really important because our lead mentor 1 was actually out of town. And since we knew this in advance, we did a whole lot of big switcheroo so that I could become the lead. I was the lead mentor 2. Usually it doesn't matter. So that I could become the lead mentor 1. And I did get the email. So it did pan out for us that that's how it worked.
Yeah, we ran into that too. I'm lead mentor 1, and I usually am volunteering at events, and so I usually hand that all off to Dassel. And then we ran into the same thing of just trying to kind of coordinate across 2 different people. So yeah.
And I guess the other comment I'd make is that when we got in there, we had prioritized our top 25 hotels, and none of the 25 hotels were available. So in fact, there were no hotels in walking distance, and we're flying. So that was kind of a big deal. And after Emilio spent 4 hours on hold, he did finally get to the right person, and they did find something that we could shift to that was in walking distance. So there was a lot less. We were, I think, a week earlier than you were. So there wasn't that great availability. And if what you got really won't work for you, I'm putting in a plug that you might want to take the effort to get a hold of people and see if there's something that could be gotten better for you if you have specific needs. That's it. Thanks.
And who did you contact for that, Toby? Did you contact individual hotels, or did you contact first?
No, Emilio contacted first, and then he got the right person at first who was doing that. And if you really want that name, I can connect you up to Emilio, who probably knows who that is. I think it might be Julie or Julia somebody. That was one of the things that took the longest.
Awesome. So my experience today, just booking for our team, just follow the link and it sorts. You can sort the hotels by cost or by distance from the venue. When I was looking at some of the things that were in our budget, and it might be different because we're traveling on a bus too. So even though we prefer not to be super far away from the venue, I think that wasn't a limiting factor in how we chose hotels. So I chose the hotel, clicked on how many rooms we needed, and we had already created a list of students who would be attending. We had a contingency plan kind of set already. Like if we were to travel, here are the students who are going, here are the mentors who are going. So we had all of the rooms kind of already set. And so by the time I opened the page, selected the hotel, they told me how many rooms are available. It does, if you indicate how many rooms you need, they do show like partial availability versus like 100% availability depending on the hotel. So that part was nice, that being able to sort by like cost and being able to see like what's available instead of like going into a hotel page, finding that we didn't have enough rooms and then going back. And then now I think the process is I have to submit a spreadsheet with all names, and then it looks like the badge and the hotel registration are all in one spreadsheet that I'll need to submit by I think it's 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Thanks, Dassel. Anything else about, or any questions about registration, transportation of the team, and hotels. Otherwise, we can open it to Mike, who I think is on to talk about the Amazon truck option.
Amanda has her hand up.
Oh, okay, great.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm with 2530, and I just thought I'd add a little bit to the collective experience for those who haven't gone through it or whatever. So we qualified week 5. We got our, we paid on Sunday. We got our hotel invite on Monday, but our lead mentor was also out of the country and I'm the organizer. So that took a 24-hour process to do a forwarding that Nicole made in the comments that you can't forward the booking email. So you have to request that it be forwarded. That took a little over 24 hours to happen, just if you're in that position. And then other things I just wanted to say, there is a PDF available somewhere. I think I found it through Chief Delphi of all the hotels that are available and all their attributes that you can look at beforehand before you log into the system. And that was very helpful. Had looked at that ahead of time. And I just will make one last comment. So you first create your block, which is reserving your number of rooms and the dates that you wanted, which is what sounds like you did today. And then you have to upload this Excel spreadsheet with all of the students assigned to your room. And then once you've done that, you wait we ended up waiting 72 hours. I uploaded that spreadsheet on Thursday, and last night I got confirmation that had been processed, and that books your room and you've got them. And so that was about 3 days that it took for that to happen. It might be quicker for you now that they're nearing the end of the process for you, but I want to strongly warn you all to go. You then create an account on their passkey program and you go in and look at the individual rooms and see who they've put in there. And they totally messed up our rooms. They put like one of our students on there in 2 rooms and left off 3 other students, and they put one of our mentors in 2 rooms and left off other mentors. They just obliterated the nice spreadsheet that I filled out and put in very specifically with all our students and messed it all up. And I had to go through room by room by room and make sure everybody was accounted for. So I just warn you to do the same.
Yikes. Okay. Good to know. And that might come up again when we talk about checking in on site, which could be an issue if they don't have everyone's names accounted for. So, but in the meantime, let's call on Mike. Are you on and you want to talk to the shipping option on the Amazon trucks?
Yeah, you bet. Good to be here. This is my first time on this call, so this is great. So I work at Amazon here locally. We have a team of a couple hundred technology professionals, software engineers, product managers, and others who are building core parts of the Amazon middle mile transportation network. So that's all the 53-foot smile trailers that you see driving around on the roads. 2 years ago, I'm a mentor with Chicken Pot Pie 3082 out of Minnetonka High School. And I've been doing First Lego League since my kids were super young. 2 years ago, we qualified for Worlds in probably week 5. And so it was like, how are we going to get transportation? And I was able to work with our local team here to arrange for a trailer to bring 10 teams down. I think we had 9 teams 2 years ago. We did it again last year with 10 teams. And this year, we're looking to expand the opportunity to see if my goal is that we're able to bring all of Minnesota on Amazon trailers. And my hope is that as we go from 1 to potentially 3 this year, that we are able to continue to scale the transportation through Amazon trailers, just because it's such a hard problem to solve on short notice for all of us who don't know how to arrange logistics and transportation. And so that's the background for this. We're currently planning on 3 trailers, although so when the trailers show up down in Houston is set up for a reasonable number of trailers, but it's kind of hard for them given the logistics. For anybody who's been down there, there's probably 300 or 400 trailers with, pickups with trailers or something that are going through. And so they just have a limited number of loading docks for large trucks. So their goal is that we have at least 10 teams on each trailer. And so our plan this year is to have 3, but I'm unclear if we have 30 plus teams that we would be able to use. I don't know if Nicole or Lori or Mark, if you know, if we know that yet, or if we're going to decide that in the next day or two.
I think the current
Oh.
count is right around 20. So
Okay.
we'll have to see how that expands in the next couple of days.
Yeah, we should see a few
Okay.
more on Tuesday with the regional pool.
Yeah,
Okay. So
but I
we're
don't think
currently
we'll
planning.
hit 30.
Okay.
So
So then I think we'll have to make some decisions here in the next couple of days. The current plan we've arranged with Minnetonka High School, Egan High School, and Bemidji High School to be able to have trailers loaded next weekend. I got my dates wrong in the Slack channel earlier today. Sorry about that. But it would be, the current plan is that we would load at Minnetonka High School Saturday morning between 9 and 12, and then at Egan High School 1 to 4, and Bemidji Sunday afternoon as well. I think they had put 1 to 7 as the window. They probably don't actually want to do it for 6 hours. But that's what we currently have set up. I would love to get as many teams as we can. It's totally free. It's really easy to bring your stuff to the high schools. It takes about 30 minutes per team to get loaded, and we just Amazon provides ratchet straps so everything can get strapped in and secured. So we do loading that way. Our plan is to do it at those 3 high schools, and Mark and I are working with Nicole and Lori to schedule those exact windows. We'll communicate that in the next few days. I just created a Slack channel in that Minnesota FRC network. I tried to add people from the teams I was aware of, but anybody who's for any, it was Sunday from 1 to 4 at Egan, AE. I think that might have been Amanda. So this Slack channel has some of the information, and as we finalize things, we'll post there, and happy to answer any questions. The way that this will work down in Houston is that there will be like a 1-hour unloading slot where the trailer will show up. And what you'll want to do, each trailer will have kind of a trailer captain who's in charge of making sure that everything's going well, because I won't be down there this year. And essentially what you're gonna want to do is get as many kids from you can have 6 in the pits per team. The goal should be that as many of those teams show up at the trailer when the unloading window starts, and then essentially just have them grab one item and bring it to the correct team. So everything that you put into the trailer, please make sure you label with your team number. And that way, when somebody grabs it, everything will be on wheels or something that's relatively easy to carry. And just have them bring it to the pit. The first year we did this, we had Cheesy Poofs and another team. We had like 30 kids show up because of whatever. And within 15 minutes, everything was unloaded and, at the pit. So that worked really, really well. So we'll have the details of exactly what that timing is. I think we don't have that from first yet, but Evan, the first transportation person, will coordinate all of that on the Houston side. And then those trailer captains who we've identified will be the people who can help coordinate that. And then on the loading time, loading out of Houston, there are staging areas where people, each of the 3 trucks will be labeled. I assume they'll be labeled like Minnetonka, Egan, and Bemidji. And so there'll be a spot for you, knowing what truck you're on. You'll stage your stuff there, and then once all the teams are complete with the tournament, you'll need to get a group of people to bring all the stuff to the loading dock, and then load it into the trailer. What we did when we were doing this 2 years ago is we tried to have as many of the adults do the trailer loading so that the kids can be in watching Einstein. But you just got to figure out how many mentors you have, how many people can be productive on loading. It's kind of a putsy process to load just because you can only bring in a couple items at a time given the space constraints. So you'll all figure that out when you're down there. That'll all work. And then the trailers will arrive back in Minneapolis on, I think it should be on Monday. And what we will do is we'll do unloading on Monday evening. That would be the 14th, 21st. That'll be the 21st. And so I assume, we would not want to do it until after school is, unloaded. So probably like 4 to 7 or something like that. And we'll finalize all those times. And obviously, if any teams are traveling back, then like you'll just have to kind of figure out a way to get a trailer or get a partner team who could help you move your stuff around or whatever it is. Because those trailers, the schools don't want the trailers sitting there any longer than necessary, just because they, like Minnetonka only has 2 dock doors. They can't have a trailer sitting there for, extra time and stuff. As far as how to load this stuff, it's really no different than loading in your team's trailer. Is just a bigger thing inside. You're not allowed to have, there are no pallet jacks and no forklifts allowed down at Houston. And so you can't use pallets. You need to either put everything on wheels or have everything in small enough packages that it can either be hand carried, put on top of a cart that you can be pushing, that type of thing. We will, we're going to arrange to have each of the sites have some kind of the big moving shrink wrap, because that works really well if you've got, 4 or 5 totes that you can just kind of shrink wrap those together. And then the constraint is the floor space. We need everything to be, we need everything to be safely packed. That's the most important thing. Everything needs to be safe and secure. And then with the floor space being the constraint, it means every team gets about 40 square feet worth of stuff that you can bring, that you can stack. The trailer is 8 feet high, 8.5 feet high. I think it is 8 feet high. Most of the time you can't pack nearly 8 feet high. Usually you're packing closer to 5 feet, just because we don't all have, there's no way to have 8 foot high pallets, or you can't double stack because we don't have forklifts and things. So, so anyway, that's a little bit about how to pack. I think that's what I've got. I don't know if my guess is that I'm missing a bunch of basic questions. So feel free to ask, and we can do our best. And what I would say is this is not something that I am I work on the technology side. I don't know how to do any of this, but it's just stuff please help each other out like we always do in First. And, we'll make it work. And hopefully it'll be great for everybody.
Sam, you've had your hand up for a while. You want to ask your question?
Do you have any tips on what people have been doing for packing the robot, especially since I know it's all strapped down, usually with our trailer, it's sitting on its cart. I don't know how comfortable we're looking at crates or stuff like that.
Some teams have built crates. You're welcome to do that. That's great. But most teams did not have a crate. Most teams had a way to secure the robot off into the cart. You ratchet strap the cart and then have a way to securely connect the robot. Maybe you have some kind of whether it's blankets or padding or other things that you can put around the robot to keep it safe, that you can then securely strap to the sides of the trailer. Sorry.
So I'll just make a comment. Pool noodles and plastic wrap are your friends.
Yes.
So any kind of arm extension or anything like that, take a pool noodle, wrap it around it, shrink wrap everything. So no loose items anywhere. All that does is become projectiles. So we're really going to highly stress that everything gets strapped down. If you've got loose items, strap them to your carts. Totes should be zip tied shut. As secure as you can make everything, the better the result will be on the way down to Houston.
And we'll make sure there's some shrink wrap, but the more of that you can do ahead of time, the better, just to streamline the actual loading process.
Also, Mike, thank you for organizing this, because as the person who's pulled the trailer down to Houston twice, I didn't want to do that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's such a great problem for us to solve, because it's easy for us to do. And it's super hard for everybody. It's super hard for any of us as individuals to do, whereas it's an easy problem for a transportation company to solve. So,
not to mention the cost savings.
Yes.
Just the gas down and back pulling a trailer is outrageous. So it saves each of the teams a tremendous amount of fundraising.
Yes. And so this is actually one of the things. I think the one ask that I would have is, as we do this, we will likely want to pull some anecdotes or verbatims or whatever from the team about the impact this had. Because I would like to use, assuming this is successful, I would like to figure out how we can say, look, we've done this like 3 years, and like let's keep making this bigger and bigger over time. Because I think it's a really great thing. So that's one of my goals, is that we were able to keep making this bigger year after year.
All right, Samantha,
Cool.
is that your hand up? Is that on the topic here?
Yeah. I was just wondering if there's anything special we have to do about batteries. I'm
Make sure
muted.
they're packed securely. Make sure they're
Right.
packed securely.
Okay.
Good question. And Ghost Roaster? Hand is up.
Yeah, yes. We mentioned about building a crate. Is there a maximum size to the crate? I mean, obviously 40 square feet is your maximum size. So, I mean, I'll have like two toolboxes, but then how big can my crate be before it becomes too big? Does that make sense?
Yeah, as long as you can wheel it, it can be relatively large. The trailer dimensions, a standard trailer, so I think they're 8.5 feet wide and either 8.5 or 9 feet tall. And so it's like, if you had a 5 foot by 5 foot crate, it would actually be totally fine. Because one of the hardest things when you actually load all this stuff up, the hardest thing to do is to pack the full width of the trailer, because most things are like, if you had a tool cart, you're going to put it up against the side, you're going to ratchet strap that, and now you've still got, you have kind of an aisle that ends up getting created. And so it's totally fine if things are, I don't think you want to have an 8 foot wide crate, for example, but I don't think that would be a problem. One of the teams a couple of years ago had like one of those super nice, like roadie cases that's probably 7 feet long by 3 feet deep or something, 5 feet high, 6 feet high, something. Nothing fit perfectly. Like, that isn't a problem at all. So, yeah, there's a little bit of dancing you got to do to get everything in, but I don't think there's a specific size that you wouldn't want to be bigger than within reason.
As long as it's on
You just have to
wheels.
provide your own wheels, right? There's
Provide your own wheels. If you build a crate, put caster wheels or something on it so that you can just push it, because there are no pallet jacks that you can use down there. There's no way to move an item that you can't carry or wheel. And then just because we're talking about the 40 square feet, I see Caleb has a question about the shape or preferred shape size. I kind of answered that. 40 square feet is just an estimate of, like, if you divide all the space, you end up kind of just packing it all in and I'd say you end up making it work. So really no preferred shape. We kind of make it work with whatever people have.
Just making sure stuff is labeled. That's kind of one of the key things I think you mentioned, right?
Make sure everything is labeled. Yes.
All right, I see Scott and Kirk's hands up, and then I'm going to try to keep us moving because we've got a lot of other topics for today as well. And maybe Nate's.
So
they keep coming.
I might cover some of the stuff that Nate was going to say here. So Nate, feel free to hop in as part of my responses here. But we've been very fortunate to use the Amazon trailer now for a couple of years. One year we took our shipping crate that you used to have to ship your robot. I think we screwed some dollies to the bottom of it so that it was on wheels. And we put a robot inside that crate, and that worked really well. The next year, we took our robot cart and we screwed 2x4s on the side of it and added plywood around it and basically built a crate onto our robot cart. And that worked really well too. Something to think about is there's no really strapping down to the floor, so you have to strap to the wall. So if you're just putting your robot on a cart and you're just wrapping it in bubble wrap, there's really not a great way to fasten that to the wall without running the danger of damaging your robot. So that means it might just sit in the aisle and has the potential to jostle around. So think about putting it in something sturdy that can protect it in case something does fly off of another team's cart, and in a way that it could be strapped to the wall. The other thing I'll say is that if you're using the $10 ratchet straps from Harbor Freight, double them. You can't hurt by putting an extra ratchet strap on whatever you're strapping up. Make sure that if something does kind of get hit real hard, that nothing of yours flies off of your packing solution and runs into another team. But absolutely everything on wheels and everything strapped down.
Yep. Yeah.
And we should provide like 3 boxes of ratchet straps. So we should have plenty there, but obviously, we've not had to use our own, but teams, if you have them, bring them in case we need them.
Sorry, I didn't mean strap to the trailer, because yes, the Amazon truck provides the straps to the trailer. I'm saying strap around.
Oh, yep.
So like if
Yes.
your doors come open because your lock, doesn't work all the time, you don't want your doors flying open on your tool chest.
Absolutely.
Wrap those up, strap them up. Just be extra secure with how you do your stuff.
Yep. Make sure, like Mike said, that all your items that you're rolling in are labeled with your team name. Last year, like Mike said, the Cheesy Poofs had a whole cadre of students that helped when that stuff came off the trailer. They just wanted to know what pit it went to, and they brought it there. If you haven't been to Champs, the loading docks are at one end of the venue. And if your pit is at the opposite end of the venue, you're going to be pushing all your stuff at least a quarter mile. So it is really, truly important that you try to come up with a plan to roll everything. I know getting your things possibly to the loading site, you may not have a vehicle, a trailer that has a drop down thing to roll all your stuff out. That's fine. Maybe come up with a plan so when we get to Minnetonka, Bemidji, or Egan, to have a base or something that with casters already built, that then you can take your totes and your things and everything, saran wrap, ratchet strap it. Now you've got a rolling thing that then you can roll into the trailer, roll out of the trailer to your pit, then pack back up and roll back. And so it's going to do lots of rolling from the time you get to your location, even though maybe your vehicle doesn't allow for that to be, rolled into. So that is huge, is pushing that. We try to have 5 total things that roll so we can minimize the number of trips. And so a couple of tool chests we'll use, and we're going to take all of our pit stuff and we're going to ratchet strap and ratchet strap and strap that all down. So we have all things that are rolling and trying to make things tall enough. That 40 square feet, you think about it, a tool chest, maybe 10 square feet. And so you got a couple of those, and your robot carts, maybe another 10. So you're looking at maybe 4 things that are rolling, and you're approaching that size limit. So, but yes, it's a long, long ways to go. And so trying to minimize the number of things, they're going to be heavy, those things, but that's really important. I'm trying to think of anything else along those lines though. But yes, like Mike said, the semi doesn't get called to load out until they know that everything from all those participating teams on that trailer are staged in that area. And then, like Mike said, you don't need your whole pit crew or team. You just need enough people that can move that stuff from each team over to where that semi is and help it get loaded during the loadout time. So, inevitably, if each team supplies 10 people, you're going to have a lot that are just standing around and missing out on watching some of those elimination matches.
All right, Kirk, did you have something else?
No, I was just I'm up at the Bemidji location. And so for anybody that is listening later or on the call right now, I think most of you guys are metro area, but just to let you know that actually I put that time in there, but we are available anytime. I live a mile from the school. So if that loading time doesn't work, I can scoot over there. It takes me 2 minutes to drive. And if anybody is thinking about going there, we have a tech expo on Saturday with Gigazone Gaming. So students may want to participate in that, and we're actually demonstrating our FRC robots there as well. So, but just letting you know, for the Bemidji location, we're pretty flexible, and our shop is actually just a few garage doors down from the loading dock. So if somebody needs to leave it there and trust us, I've already had one team reach out and ask, "Hey, we can't be there Sunday. Sunday." That's fine too. We've got some options that we're fortunate.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Nicole, you want the last word on this? And then I'm going to suggest that all other questions related to the Amazon trailer go into chat, and we'll keep moving.
Yep. I did also put this in chat, but I want to let everybody know Mark's been working on some details and organization stuff. And we're also going to be getting more information from First about drop-offs and times and things like that. So you will get more information later this week, but we also hope that everyone registers for the trucks by Wednesday so that meaning by the end of the day, Tuesday, so that we can make some decisions on Wednesday about locations and schedules and stuff like that. So if you have not done that, please do so soon. Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks. And I'm on that. Mark and I are on the FRC or the Minnesota FRC Slack. So if there's any questions, I created a channel. I put a link to it. If there's any questions, feel free to ping Mark or I directly, or just post them in the Slack in the channel, ideally, because that way everybody will get the same answer. So thanks all.
Awesome. Yeah. And thanks, Mike, for coordinating. It's really huge help to the Northland teams. Okay. I'm going to move us to now kind of what to expect on the when you get to Champs, starting with the Wednesday, the 16th. Obviously, there is activity happening prior to that, like the field setup. A lot of people arrive on Tuesday or even earlier. But for sure, in FRC, you need to plan to be there by Wednesday. So I wanted to kind of talk through some of the schedule of that and how to what to anticipate for when you get there Wednesday. So actually probably easiest to do it in terms of the schedule on Wednesday. So the way they publish it, that load in starts at 9 for most teams that are hand carrying, which includes using the Amazon trailers. And then our assigned time could, I think, be anywhere on the Amazon truck could be anywhere starting at 9 or much later in that morning or into the afternoon. Then the inspection opens at 10. And if you look at the schedule here, then they have a separate thing that says pits open at 2. And I know that throws people off. I mean, when you first look at the schedule, it's like, oh, okay, all the work on our robot starts at 2. Actually, your 6 people that are allowed starting at 9 for load-in should also be your ones that are getting your robot inspected and starting to make sure everything is working. Any final plans you had for your robot, because you need to be ready for your practice match, which starts at 5. There's also, prior to that, the option to do field measurement, calibration, and connection test on the field starting from 2 to 4. So there is really a lot that already is happening Wednesday, even prior to the official pit open at 2. And so really the difference that happens at 2 o'clock is that it's open to more than 6 people per team. Another thing that's really critical to pay attention to is getting the team's badges printed. I know that's something that often Nate has been there earlier than the rest of the team that's arriving on the bus, and he's taking care of that for the team. Recommend doing that as soon as you can, even if they have earlier options on Tuesday that you can do that, or early Wednesday morning. You want to say more about that, Nate?
Yeah, sure. So like Katie said, usually I'm arriving with her earlier than the team. And so I usually, when she needs to start working on her stuff for her volunteering, I'm looking at getting our team badging completed. Like Katie said, it looks like even on Tuesday, that's an option from 7 a.m. to 6, but then Wednesday it says 6 a.m. to 7 on the schedule, it looks like. But usually I'll get in line right away. As you get closer to the event, to when everyone's showing up, that line just gets longer. I think, I'm trying to remember, but I still bring, if I remember correctly, my, just like a normal event, I bring my printout, but there's also, I think, a QR code which you can complete online, that form that they scan. And then that's when, like, our team sometimes is fairly large. They'll print all those badges. So that's part of that process, is because I'm printing all of those badges at once, and they'll hand me, 50 to 70 badges to based on how many students and mentors and parents even that got registered. So that can be a little bit of a process. They print those all, hand you the lanyards as well. So getting that done, having someone that can complete that earlier on is a big benefit than instead of waiting closer to when the team arrives, because they need to get into the venue, into the pits. They need that badge. And so oftentimes the buses on our team is arriving on Wednesday. And so I make a handoff and hand all those ones that are not part of those 6 pit crew off to Dossel, and she'll get those out to the rest of the team. And then I can have my pit crew in the pits with their badge. So getting that done sooner than later is really important.
Yeah. Nicole has her hand up. You want to talk to some of that, Nicole?
Sure. I'm actually in pit admin at FRC. On the first day, on Wednesday, when everybody checks in, we have that central location. But on the other days, I am at one end or the other. So your guess is as good as mine which end that will be. That being said, the process to check in 600 FRC teams is not without hurdles. Please, please, please make sure you have everyone on your list. Everyone has consent and release forms. You've added everybody that needs to be in there. Because if you have to stand in line a long time like Nate, and then you don't have everything and you have to go stand in line a long time again, that just makes the entire process much longer, and you can't be in pits without those name tags. If you all remember, security has been checking that. So the other question that I want to mention that I keep getting asked is if you have people who are coming to watch who are not registered with the team and in the team room block, they will have to get a spectator badge by waiting in line at spectator registration on the main floor. So it's going to be a little bit longer. They're going to have to wait in line, but that really is the only way to get people in that are not registered with a team and in a team hotel block. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicole. And I know Brian Herbst is, I believe, still on, but has to leave at 8. And I want to make sure we give him the floor to talk about the field calibration, measurement, practice field options and how to use those, and anything related to kind of getting ready to play and practice. So, Brian, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is very similar to regional events. We have that measurement and calibration period if you need to calibrate sensors, cameras, stuff like that. They do advertise it as a connection test opportunity too. I'll admit, I don't think I've ever had someone actually asked to do a connection test during that period. But if you've had, issues with your dashboards, your cameras, or whatever other sorts of weird things at previous events, great opportunity to do that. Just like at regional events, if you want to use any of the practice areas, you do need to be inspected. To get to your one scheduled practice match, you don't need to be inspected. So kind of same setup as regionals. Some of the differences. So the way the practice areas are set up is on each end of the venue. So far ends by your pits, there's 3 kind of opportunities for practice areas. There is one fully wireless field that's going to run full matches. So if you want to do both auto and teleop, if you get 2 matches that are going to just run back to back. So you run a match, reset, run another match. There's a second full practice field setup that does autos only. And the current plan for that is they'll do 3 kind of auto runs. So you'll run 15-second auto, get a couple minutes to reset or deploy code or whatever you need to do. Second, then there'll be a third one. So you do 3 autos back to back to back. Then the last option is just like you've seen at regional events in the past. We'll have, I think each end is going to end up with 6 full sets of the kind of the wooden structures that you've seen at regionals. And those are a little bit more kind of, they're a little bit more freeform. The kind of limitation there that we have this year is you won't be able to run your autos on that wooden field. So the only places you can run auto testing are the 2 full metal border field setups that they have going on there. And then I think that playground, I want to say it's 10 minute time limit on the playground as well. So those are kind of those main practice options that you have available to you. And
the 2 big full field practice options, those are wireless. So you use your competition configured radio and then running a normal FMS. Exactly. And the playground are tethered?
Yes, playground is tethered only. The other difference there is the full field will have game elements available. If you're using those wooden playground elements, you'll want to bring your own game elements because there won't be any coral or algae available there.
And then I think there will be information in your registration packet you pick up that says how to get time slots, right? There's like slips and a couple other things there. I just posted the link to the practice field info. There's no like time slip or anything like that. The kind of one exception is, and I don't think this applies to anyone on the call right now, but if you do ship your robot via the FedEx voucher, you get earlier access to both the practice fields and some of the other the pits and I think a couple other things. Just because you've lost your robot for a week to ship it.
The other thing that is new this year that we're trying out is we're going to have Nexus set up for the practice fields so that you can theoretically see. We'll see how it works. We're trying it, but you should be able to see kind of how many teams are in the queue and kind of get a good estimate of how long that wait time will be to try to make sure you get to your actual matches on time. And Justin, I see your question. Do the wireless practice fields use the same radios? Yes, everything will be the same radio. You don't need to like swap out to a different radio that is at the field or anything like that.
So you just configure it once, just like you do at a regional, and you're good to go.
Yep, all 4 of those kind of full practice fields know all of your radio IDs.
And that reminded me that I think there's actually, so there was the badge printing process that we talked about. That's one thing. And then you also still have to check in your team at Pit Admin, and you get a big packet of all your like driver buttons and all of that stuff. So you actually have to do sort of like 2 different check-ins, right, Nate?
Yep. You get the badging done outside, and then once inside, I would go to Pit Admin and grab my packet of information like at a normal regional when you register your team inside at Pit Admin.
And I also, Brian said it, you get 1 scheduled practice match. So I really want to emphasize how critical it is to go to that. Even if you don't have your robot, fully done the way you wanted it, just to do make sure you connect to the field, that you know the queuing and the path to get there and how long it's going to take you to walk there. Really critical that you do that check-in at Pit Admin, you get the practice field schedule, and you pay attention and get to your practice match on time. So that you have that connection option. All right, to talk a little bit about inspection specifically, there's really not a big difference in terms of inspection versus how we run it at regionals. You'll bring your robot to the inspection station assigned for your division, and start with your robot and bumper weight, and then the frame perimeter, and then an inspector will come back to your pit. Just like at regionals, we'll probably have a bit of a wait list. As inspectors are available, we'll send them to the pit and go through the inspection checklist. One thing I'll emphasize is, of course, something that may have passed, or something that was missed during your regional inspection doesn't mean that just because it passed before doesn't mean that that you're gonna it'll pass again. So make sure that you're going through that inspection checklist yourself with your team members, that your lead students that are going to be in the pit during inspection know how to facilitate that inspection and help the inspector find all your wire sizes and see what they need to see and answer questions, so you can get through that really efficiently. I'll also say we really try to have consistency across all of our different geographic regions, but your inspector may have been trained somewhere else, and there's just some variation. And so if you believe that the inspector is interpreting something incorrectly, or you're they're asking you to change something that you disagree with, please take ask to have that reviewed by the division LRI. Don't feel like you have to change something if you disagree. Really make sure that you're using resources available to you, and that's what the LRIs are there for. Obviously being gracious about that, but there's opportunity for you to push back on that if you need to. Matt Mittag, I believe, is on. Anything else you want to add related to inspection?
No, I think you covered it really well. I think the big thing is, it's like I said, the inspections can be very similar to a regional, with the one exception of this year, we're not, we did more of the weighing when you load in. It's just going to go right into inspection. So there's not going to be a weighing of the robot. It's going to go right into inspection. And to Katie's point, that we encourage everyone to start right away. 75 teams per division, and you're going to want it so that you can get the practice field and all that. So I highly recommend starting inspection as quickly as possible.
We'll also do the re-inspection after your last qualification match on Friday. So come right back to inspection after you finish your last match, and we get everyone through that, just like a regional. Double check the no weight changes as an indicator, and you're on your way. And of course, if you do make changes throughout the event, similar to regionals, you just bring your robot to inspection and show the change and record the updated weight. One thing I'll also mention, noted here, you know, at regionals in Minnesota, and where, you know, we have a very, you know, trustworthy event. People leave out their driver stations, their laptops, and really don't have to worry about things going missing from pits. In Houston, you know, please do not leave unattended valuables in your pit. If you're going to lunch or leaving for the evening, lock up your driver station or take your laptop with you is even better. Don't leave out your, you know, team cameras and GoPros and things on your robot. Please, you know, keep things put away unlocked. All right, I will just obviously this is really tough to read. This is an overall view of the pit and field layout for FRC in the convention center. On the top side of this is the doors that go out to the loading dock. And then on the left-hand side is the pits for 4 of the divisions. There's all of the fields lined up in the middle with bleachers on either side for watching those. And then on the far right side is the other 4 division pits with, I guess, practice fields are on the far ends. And then on the bottom of the page here is kind of like going up to the main sort of hallway in the convention center, and that's where you find things like the first store, the registration desk in pink there, where you'll get the badges printed. You know, exit out to the plaza area, and there's a kind of a green space, and I think there's going to be probably food trucks and other things to do outside on the plaza area. And then there are multiple floors in the convention center that go up to other areas, including the FLL, FTC, competition spaces, the judging rooms, the innovation fair. So this is a gigantic venue, and like Nate said, your unloading spot could be assigned anywhere from left to right. You go, you know, you get your stuff off the truck and you walk in, and then you have to push your stuff to your pit. And even just getting from your assigned pit to your field to queue it can be quite a walk. So plan ahead for a lot of walking. All right, I'm just gonna pop back to what I had as notes on the agenda. I think we covered all of these. Any questions or comments, things we missed related to kind of what to expect on that Wednesday of the competition? All right, not seeing any hands up, so I'm going to go over to then the Thursday and Friday. So Thursday and Friday are the qualification match days. It's the early days. I think the pits open at 7. And you know, the opening ceremonies are at 8, and then it goes right into qualification matches. There is a short window, I think it's listed on here, half an hour for robot sensor calibration and connection test, in case you weren't able to do it the day before. But then it goes right into the qualification matches. The divisions do take an hour and a half lunch break, and partly that is because with so many people trying to get food, there's a lot of lines at a lot of the food places. So going back to some of these topics for the Thursday and Friday, kind of match queuing, what is in the field. Yoji and Nate, do you want to cover anything related to that?
Katie, maybe you could go a couple slides just to kind of just remind people kind of what the match play is going to be like. I think I gave you a slide. This one, yeah. So again, it's about 600 teams plus or minus, 4 or 5 that'll be attending championship, and they're randomly assigned to one of 8 different divisions. So it should be about 75 teams per division. You should get your division assignment probably later this week. It generally happens 6 to 7 days before championship begins. And you should basically think about each division as a regional event, a separate regional event. So we basically have 8 regional events running side by side all the time on Friday and Thursday and Friday, starting at 8, ending at 6 on both days. I believe at least for the past couple of years, the qualification match schedule is usually published and available before you get to Houston. It usually shows up and published on the first website on, I think, Monday or Tuesday. So you should know what your qualification match schedule will be like even before you get there, and what teams you're playing with in that division. So long days, but that's basically what you should expect. If you're in one division, basically treat that like a regional, and you'll have 2 full days of qualification matches.
Yeah, the like we were talking about earlier, at our events we usually have keywords that help find you and remind you to get to your match. We start using Nexus, and we won't at Champs. There'll be no one coming to get you for your match, and you won't be able to hear the queuing necessarily. I mean, I recommend.
I don't think they even announced queuing.
No, that's what I mean. They don't. So I mean, and it's just hard to hear in general. There are screens showing in certain locations near your pits what actively match is being played that same live stream, so you can get an idea right there what match they're on, and to know, okay, it's 3 matches before we need to queue. And compared to our event this last weekend, we only had to queue like 50 feet. Well, this is much longer, so you got to allocate the time to walk there and be prepared. So start early, figure out a good plan of how many matches beforehand to get there, and make sure you have everything you need on your cart when you leave your pit too. There's no running in the pit, but you'll see people that are in an awful hurry because they forgot something.
Mm-hmm. Helpful to have a spare battery, your Ethernet cord, spare driver station laptop if you're able, in case you need to check something while you're in queue. Need tools you need to make a quick repair if you happen to notice, something popped off while we're in queue, or we need to zip tie something on. It's a good idea to stack your cart with a lot of that extra stuff. All right, Jane, hoping that you could address what it's like for awards judging, the pit judging as well as impact, and then for any Dean's Lists finalists attending, what they can expect.
Sure. Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, the awards are similar to the running it as a regional. So you're competing for awards with the other teams in your division. Judging for First Impact Award and Dean's List is a little bit different at championships, and I'll cover that in a minute. But pit judging is pretty similar. There's a full set of awards that is given out on each field of 75 teams, except for First Impact and Dean's List. And then the interviews are very similar in the pits. For First Impact judging, you compete for this only if you have won First Impact at your regional competition. You get assigned a time in an interview room. Very similar. You do a 7-minute presentation, 5 minutes for Q&A. For that one, they do announce 3 First Impact Award finalists on Saturday morning, and those are across all 600 teams. So they're not by your division. Then the winner for First Impact is announced after the final Einstein matches. For pit interviews, very similar to regionals, teams compete for team attribute awards, robot awards, and then they're given out on the field. The one thing I will say is that because there are so many teams here, the judges may be needed to cover more teams, and just be very respectful of the judges' time and be prepared when they come and organize, and make sure you cover, if you want to talk to them about certain awards or certain aspects of your robot, be sure that you are prepared to do that in the first few minutes of your interview, because your interview might not be as long as you want it to be. So just think about that as you go forward. Also, if your team is not in the pit, or if you only have a couple of people there, the judges are allowed to interview anyone on your team, and they are not obligated to talk to any specific people on your team. So just be prepared to, have
people who are in the pit be interviewed. If you want certain people there, you'll have to make arrangements for that, I guess.
Jane, is there a specific time to expect judges, or could it be any day, anytime Thursday or Friday?
Anytime Thursday or Friday. And I think each division will they may have their own schedule. I mean, we're usually given sort of a guideline of when to come back with our interviews finished, and there's a little bit of flexibility on that. But then after we do some deliberation, there may be follow-up interviews. So there's no telling what they might do. But it is those 2 days. For Dean's List, the Dean's List finalists from the regionals compete to be the Dean's List winners. However, there are no interviews at championships for the Dean's List final decisions. Those decisions are made based on submitted essays and the judges' notes from regional interviews. So they just take that information, and then they will be announcing the Dean's List winners on Friday. I think it's at noon that they have a Dean's List celebration.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on awards? All right. Then thought we'd shift gears a little bit into kind of for the team that's not in the pit, what to expect in terms of the bleachers, how to get food. Well, that applies to everyone, including the pit team, and kind of taking advantage of the whole experience. So I think Michelle is on, as well as Dassel was able to make it. So between the two of you, can you kind of talk through some of those items?
Yeah. First of all, Dassel does an amazing job. We're very lucky on Team 2052 to have that organization. So as a mentor and also having chaperoned, having that organization going in that she provides for us, super helpful. So I don't know, Dassel, if you want to talk to kind of some of the things that you do to prep us as we go in.
Yeah, sorry, my camera's like at a bad angle right now. Okay, so hi. For getting ready, usually what I do is you don't have to do this. I like to do this just for ease of communication. I consolidate like all of our scouting shifts, all of the seminars that are happening. I think they're called conferences, actually, excuse me, that students might be interested in, as well as any other, like, I don't know, some college visit things that are happening around. It's like sometimes the innovation fair. So I post all of those schedules on one spreadsheet and kind of like send it to the students. And basically we have them either in the stands, or they need to message their chaperone or another mentor who is in charge of them to just share like, hey, we're not going to be in the stands. We are going to X event. We try to make sure that we have a predetermined location, just like for regionals. If we have to evacuate the building, our team will meet at X location at the competition venue and the hotel as well. Lunch, we usually say that students cannot leave the lawn just because we want to make sure that students are safe. We're able to get to them in case there's an emergency, things like that. And if they do leave, that is with an adult or a chaperone. That's kind of our plan. I'm interested to hear if that mirrors other teams' experiences as well.
One thing I'll add that Dassel didn't mention is that as a requirement for travel, just on our team in general, they need to be part of our Slack, our team Slack that we use. So whether you're using Slack or Discord or some other sort of organizational way, that's a requirement our students have to have so that they can communicate with us at all times. And that's really important, because then if something does happen, then we can put out, and our student leadership will actually do this a lot of times about where we're sitting in the bleachers. One of the challenges is always kids like to leave stuff in the bleachers. So trying to really stress that they have backpacks or anything like that too. And then also having, just reminding them not saving seats. We want to be really respectful of that too. as just a team in general. So those are some of the things that we try to really stress with the kids. And you had to managing team rooms, getting them around. One thing that we do is we do have a points system, and so for lettering, and so we actually do encourage them to go to the conferences. Travel in pairs is really important. Check in and let us know if they're going to be going. Then one other thing that our students have done, our students have had fun creating to get that full field or that full team experience and kind of keep people focused on the event and keep them excited, is doing a bingo card or scavenger hunt for the course of the event, to get them to experience things like the conferences, the innovation fair, and then going to like the FLL or FTC. I mean, that can be like with photos of like photo submissions or having an actual physical card. Dominic?
I was wondering about seating.
Mm-hmm.
We are fortunate that we're having a lot of parents come down with our team. Right now we have about 19 parents coming down with us, but obviously that means that we're going to have a lot of seats that we need in the stands. I guess I'm wondering, how early do you often go to the venue? Thinking about technically the pits open at like 7 or 6:45.
Yeah.
So do you often get there right then to get good seats? And sort of how do you go about when your matches do come up? How do you make sure everyone who wants to watch your match make sure they get a seat?
Great question. We've got a larger team. So we're planning to travel 35 students. We travel 30 to 35 students a year, plus mentors, plus parents. Excuse me. And we also have scouting. And so that keeps a certain number of students in the pits in an area. We travel to the venue with everybody on the bus. So we're not all coming in at different times. So then everybody's going through security. We try to general gates open at 8. Trying to remember.
Well, I think it's 7 to get to
7.
the pit.
7 to the pits, but to get into the actual venue, I think it says all 7.
I think so. I don't think there's a separate gate to the fields. Yeah.
It's been a year. We all get there. We all get there at the same time because our pits our students that are on drive team and in the pits need to get there right away. So we just bring the whole team. And then we kind of target depending on, of course, which division you're in. We try to target being kind of in the center, maybe a little higher, although obviously you get what you get. And don't throw a fit because you're lucky to be there and have a chance to sit. And we try to sit everybody together, and then communicate out once we have that spot where that is, so people can find it, which staircase we're on and where we are, and communicate that through the general chat. I think, is there anything I'm missing on that, Dossel, as far as I don't know that we necessarily have a strategy?
Yeah, I was going to say that pretty much the same thing, Michelle. So we do get there before the venue opens. The line does get quite long, so I would recommend getting there early if seating is a concern. I will say, though, all of the divisions we've been in, we have really not had any barriers in seating the team together until we get to, like, if we were watching the Einstein matches. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, go ahead, Dominic.
I had another question that popped up about seating. I guess I don't know if people know this, but about accessible seating at Champs. One of our students needs accessible seating. How does that work? Like, how many people can sit with them? Or is it just that one student that gets to sit alone down field side? How does that all work?
We haven't had to use the accessibility, but I know they have areas.
Lori or
Lori, maybe.
Koji or Nicole, do you know the answer? Or anyone?
I know in the past there's been accessible seating on the sides of the field. So sort of right in front of the stands. and there's usually a row of chairs. So I would say if you have the person that's say in a wheelchair or something like that, needs somebody to accompany them, that's probably all right. But
Yeah,
you can't have 3 or 4 or 5 people.
yeah, I would agree with Mark. I think that's typically the policy. If there's someone that needs to accompany the individual down to accessible seating, that'd be okay.
And we do try to keep the lower levels of the bleachers clear for more of the team members to sit, so that you are close in and can talk to your person who's down on the field, but the person who's coming in needing those accessible seats will have 1 or 2 people with them at the most.
And kind of on the topic of additional needs, thank you, Lori, for populating some information on the access to the quiet room and prayer rooms. Do you want to say anything specific about that?
The only time that the quiet room may not be open is late on Saturday afternoon. It truly depends on volunteers and staffing. That is, as you might imagine, one of the more difficult times to convince people to volunteer, since everybody wants to be watching the Einstein matches. But these are the hours that are posted, and truly anyone who needs to access this room, please do. Don't hesitate. It is open and it's there for all of us when you need that time away from the noise and the chaos.
Thank you. Popping back, we touched a little bit about food, but not a lot. Anybody want to share tips and tricks on how to get everyone eating all of their meals? Any experiences with doing the pre-order versus having students on their own using concessions, or the going out to lunch or food trucks? Anyone want to share on that?
I have 2 pieces of advice. One is give your students realistic expectations of what it's going to cost for food. Don't have any students going down there with $20 in their pocket if they're responsible for buying their own food. And also, don't be surprised. Don't get caught off guard. So if your hotel is in a spot where there's nothing within walking distance, make sure that you've got a plan for food. If you're taking a bus like we are, some bus companies say you get a ride in the morning, you get a ride in the evening. They're not shuttling you back and forth for food. So don't be surprised by that as either. So think about your plan for food ahead of time. Make sure your kids are aware of what food is going to cost. I think we're recommending to our students to bring $200 in cash. The team is, I don't believe I think we're providing maybe 1 team meal. That's a docile question. But for the most part, students are going to be responsible for their own food. And so give them a realistic expectation of what to expect.
Stacy, I see your hand up. You want to comment?
Yeah, last year when we went, we were fortunate enough to have enough parents to be able to help us, and we just ordered lunches ahead of time and brought them over to that park across from the venue. And I think Whataburger was one. There was like a burrito or wrap place, and that worked out really well for us. Some folks would go out ahead of time and save a couple of benches or something so we could set up and coordinate that. Because food was really expensive. We had some different dietary things we wanted to make sure we could accommodate. So if you have that capability, I highly suggest that. One, to avoid the lines and to give the kids a little more time to decompress from all the activity going on during the tournaments.
One thing that we do, so because it can be a little iffy on when you get in on the bus, Docile has been fantastic about this. This was a great idea, and it's something that's very popular with the kids, is on Wednesday when we're coming in, since it's not quite sure when you'll get there. She's actually brought, once we drop the pit crew off, brought the bus out to a mall. And I think it's the Memorial. I looked it up. I think it's the Memorial Mall in Texas. Memorial City Mall. They have an indoor skating rink. They have a double-decker merry-go-round, and that's been someplace where the kids can get kind of free reign once they get off the bus and go decompress and go have some fun, hit the food courts for food, before we get started, and actually kill some time until the rooms are ready too, depending on if you're traveling in with a large bus load on Wednesday. So that was just something that's been very popular with the group.
Yeah, I know 2 years ago we went to the Natural History Museum in Houston. That was a big hit with our team.
So be thinking about some fun things like that too if you're looking for some time as you're getting in, at least in on Wednesday.
Amanda?
Yeah, I just along with things to do, I was wondering, our team was planning, we're getting in Tuesday night. We're planning on going to the Robonauts open house from 6 to 10 p.m. as an option. Has anybody been to that and offer any tips on that?
Yeah, 4607's been there the last couple of years. It's pretty fun. It gets pretty crowded there the later you go, but definitely worthwhile.
So go early, huh?
Yeah, but you'll end up staying late, so it's cool.
Thank you.
Nice. That's a really good segue to the topic on kind of appreciating the full experience. There's a lot more to do and see, at Champs, adjacent to Champs in Houston, than just FRC matches. So we've touched a little bit on, there's the conferences. There's an innovation fair where sponsoring companies will have demo booths. There's the FLL and FTC competitions and demos happening as well, and some great opportunity to talk to a lot of different teams. There's especially international teams. It can be a lot of fun to meet folks from those teams. Anybody want to talk more about specific tips related to the overall experience, or and how to kind of connect with other Northland, Minnesota teams and support each other at the event?
I know one thing 2491 is hoping to do is for our division doing a scouting alliance. So if we end up in the same division, I'll probably send an email to you soon after we figure out. And if you're interested, we'll host a scouting alliance.
Right. And then, the question about what to expect kind of if you're going outside the venue, especially for the teams staying in downtown hotels or going to a restaurant or something else in the downtown area. I put Michelle's name here, but really anyone who who feels has good information to share here. Anybody want to jump in with just some watch items or suggestions? Ryan, get your hand up.
I'll just say make sure you're in big groups. You can see some sights down there, and yeah, and then kids from rural towns, 6 lanes of traffic. It's dangerous. So, yeah, we had some fun experiences with kids trying to catch up with the group and almost running into the middle of traffic. Actually running in, that just thankfully stopped.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is that we always ask, like if we're traveling outside of that safe zone that Dossel said that we, talked about putting up with the park on the convention center. Obviously, we always encourage our kids to travel in groups, at least pairs minimum, but groups. And then again, if they're traveling outside of that perimeter, that they're going with an adult. And we've been fortunate to have mentors and chaperone parents who are more than happy to always help coordinate. One thing for lunch that we've done that works out well is, again, if you're using your Slack or Discord or whatever you're using, we will have, sometimes we'll have certain parents say that they want to go and chaperone a group to eat at, restaurant X and restaurant Y and restaurant Z around the perimeter, kind of outside that perimeter of the convention center. And then any students that are interested in going with can respond with an emoji. And then that's the way that they can get a head count of who's supposed to be with them as parents or chaperones. and mentors, and that way they know who they should have with them and wait for and set up a meeting place and time to go for lunch. And that works out well for our group oftentimes to use that process.
Nicole, I see your hand up.
Sure. Later this week, once we know all the teams that are coming, I'm going to be creating multiple text chains. So there'll be a text for everyone of the teams that are there. There'll be a text for each of the trucks and who's on each of the trucks. I haven't thought about setting up one for all of our volunteers. Maybe Lori's going to whip me into shape and I'll pay attention to that. But there'll be more communication methods available so that even between our own teams, we can ask for help if needed.
And Yoji, I see your hand up too.
Yeah, just again about issues about security. Just also be aware about issues within the venue. So unfortunately, I know of one student last year who had all of their items stolen in the venue. So it's just as Nate mentioned with pit items and things, personal items, don't leave them around. Yeah, don't leave them around.
Right. Okay, I'm going to move us on to our last day of the event, Saturday. So Yoji, actually, you want to maybe talk a little bit about how Alliance selection and division awards, what are the differences at Champs versus a typical regional?
Yeah, I can be very quick because I think a couple of these items were covered by Jane. But Alliance selection starts Saturday morning. It's bright and early. I forgot, it's like 7 or 7:30 or something. It's like first thing in the morning. Basically, there will be a broad announcement across all divisions announcing the first impact finalists. And then the Alliance selection will take place with each of the divisions. It'll be just like what we've done this year, but the difference is there will be 4 teams in each alliance. So there will be no backups. And so if you are in the playoffs, you will be able to choose which 3 teams will compete in that match for each and every match that you compete in. So that's the major difference between the divisions, playoffs, and what we're familiar with at regionals. Just like at regionals, in between the rounds of the playoffs, there will be awards given out. And again, it's all of the awards that you would expect at a regional, except for First Impact, Dean's List, Woody Flowers, and Volunteer of the Year. So should be done by around 11:30 noon, essentially, for each division, and then there'll be a break as the division champions get ready for Einstein.
Thanks. And then Nate, could you cover a little bit about the logistics if you are playing in the playoffs, what it looks like in terms of pit crew, moving the pit, how your pit works with the 4 robots on the Alliance?
Yep, like Yoji said, a 4-team alliance they're selected that way. The pits actually move, so your alliance gets a spot. It's kind of outside behind the bleachers, between on the side where the loading docks are. They kind of cordon off some of that hallway space for the teams. Each alliance has a set amount of space, and so you have to work together to figure out, who's bringing what cart. Most teams bring their battery carts, and then they maybe pack things into a smaller rolling thing to bring. So they're not bringing all of their items to that space because it's not big enough to support everyone's pit, plus, their carts with their 4 robots and their 3 additional pit crew that get to be there as well. So, planning accordingly if you are selected, and then getting moved down right away, and then teams are busy starting to strategize and form a plan for their matches.
So you mentioned the 3 extra pit crew. So I think how it works is the Alliance captain is given like a bunch of pit crew buttons, and then they distribute them to the teams in their alliance, and so you can have 3 additional people on top of your drive team with access.
Correct.
Backstage,
Yep. Yep. They are given. Yep. And typically in the past, you have an extra button to indicate that they're allowed to then go on to the field as well. And they usually sit where the carts are stored as their space to watch that match too. And I'm not sure for this year as well, but that's kind of how it has been in the past.
All right. And then Yoji mentioned that there's following the division finals, then there's a break while the division winners then are kind of pulled into additional logistics for how to set up for Einstein. We didn't cover that specifics here, but then most, any team that's not going on to Einstein can start loading out. So Nate, do you want to, I think you kind of covered that for related to the Amazon trailers earlier. Anything additional to add for loadout?
Yeah. So if you're heading down there and not riding on the trailers, on the Amazon trailers, I think what the expectation, and now it's been a few years since we've done that and not been on it, but you had to have your loadout sheet signed and you had to have all your stuff queued up, and there's a whole process that they describe, and they're very clear on that. So I'd read up on that, but be prepared to wait. There's a long line that forms down that street, and it seems kind of chaotic on how they only let those trailer the cars and the trailers or whatnot that aren't the semis into load once they're allowed, saying that they're ready and they've signed off their sheet. So it can be prepared to be on the phone and communicating back and forth and what number of spots, where they're pulling into. It's not going to be the one that's nearest you necessarily. It's going to be the first available one. And be prepared to roll down your stuff and load it as quick as you can. And, there are 600 teams. I forget, how many with some of these other Michigan and other district states often use semis as well. But you got to be patient. It makes for a long day. And that's why typically we try to help get, maybe once a team's eliminated, some key people break down that pit. The folks that know how to set it up or tear it down, and you don't need your whole team there, and get it queued and ready to roll out and get that done while the rest of the team is watching. So you might, those folks that are involved in that may miss watching some of those early divisional playoffs in the process of getting loaded out.
Okay, thanks. And then kind of that takes us to then the Saturday afternoon, which is the Einstein matches and the first finale. Lori, did you want to talk a little bit about the logistics for that?
It gets really complicated because everything gets very, very scrambled. However, if you are one of those division finalists or winners rather, and you are going to Einstein Mass Energy, do not leave your division field unless a volunteer coordinator has approached you and handed you the very important packet with wristbands. You will need all kinds of colors of wristbands to get into the seating for Einstein. There is also separate accessible seating during Einstein. There are any number of different ways that we are going to be moving teams and their robots and their pits to the Einstein pits and to the Einstein bleachers. However, if you are sitting in those center fields, you are going to have to clear completely out of the bleachers so that we can reset up for the Einstein matches. And that means everyone gets cleared out of those bleachers, and then we start letting people in according to the wristbands that they receive for the Einstein matches. All of this information truly is in all of those links that Katie showed at the very, very beginning. Please take advantage of all of that information that's online. It really is in there, but yes, you're going to have to do a little bit of reading and a little bit of digging. Divide it up. I think someone had said they were doing a scavenger hunt earlier. Make it fun. Go find the information. Truly, if you need me, I am there starting on Sunday. I will be monitoring a little bit in the Minnesota Slack, but you can always send me a direct message if there is something truly that you need assistance with.
Thank you, Lori. And tying back to, supporting the Minnesota and the Northland teams there, it's always great when, teams are kind of watching what other Minnesota teams are playing in their, in their division playoffs. And, if they move over to cheer them on in a different division. And it's always fun to see the support that the Minnesota teams are able to provide for each other and cheer on, trying to, see a Minnesota team make it to Einstein. So I'm really encouraged, tracking, on Blue Alliance, how the other Minnesota teams are doing across the divisions and try to support them as much as you can. All right. Any additional questions or comments related to Saturday of the event or in general? We're kind of wrapping up here. Yoji.
Yeah, Katie, I don't. I know this is a tough thing to bring up, but Champs is an amazing experience. There's a lot going on with matches and FLL and FTC and conferences and innovation fair and all these other kinds of things. But if you were at championship last year, we had a tragedy with a student that we lost, and so we just want to again kind of just reemphasize the importance of taking care of each other and watching out for each other and supporting each other, not just within our teams, but also throughout this experience, because we just don't want that to happen again. So.
Thank you. Yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming with how large it is, how many teams there are from all over, and every FRC kind of region or whatever has their own different type of culture, and so reach out. You can always find a friendly face with other Minnesota teams for sure. Obviously, other FRC teams generally, but if you need something, where to find Minnesota teams, and they're always willing to help each other for sure. And of course, the Minnesota Volunteers as well. Like Lori said, we will be sprinkled throughout the event. Please say hi and let us know if we can do anything to help. Right. Scott had said if we had extra time, we would have another topic. And I was thinking to myself, I don't think we'd have any extra time. Scott, I forget sort of the specifics of what your suggestion was. Is that something that would make sense to postpone later?
I know that a lot of times we can go down a rabbit hole of finances, and I'm happy to take any questions on that. If anyone has any questions about how to budget or how to fundraise, but I think we're better off trying to wrap up than to open another half-hour conversation. But if anyone is concerned or has specific questions, I think let's spend 5 or 10 minutes to do that. Ryan, go ahead.
I'm curious if there's any. I missed the start because we're on the road and things are happening. But are there any like vans that are or buses that are half full that need 15, 20 people to fill them up?
Connect with me, Ryan. We may have some seats. This is David from 4009.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, and Dasso put a comment in there that 2129 was saying something about that as well this weekend. So I'll throw it out if you're in the Mentor Slack, Minnesota Mentor Slack, maybe throw it out there as well. Yeah, transportation's hard. It doesn't get any cheaper year to year, it seems. So work with your other teams if there's any way that you can ride share. One thing I will say, and one thing I was hoping that we would have time for, but I've talked to a lot of teams this year who had shared that they started last year or the year before putting together sort of a Champs fund. That's a lot easier if you're a 501c3 nonprofit. You can actually open your own bank account, I would assume, compared to having the school manage your money. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But we always budget for Champs, even if we, because there's no certainty that we're going to go. But we always budget for it, and we hope to get as close as we can to being able to afford it. And if we don't, then we've got it for the following year. We're going to run short this year, so we're going to have to dip into our savings, it looks like. But it's always good to try to plan ahead. And then if you end up not going, you have the option of investing that in your team or saving it for a future year. I know a lot of teams plan to do a full court press for emergency funds for Champs and have been very successful with that with GoFundMe's. And it's sort of their fundraising strategy to sort of have that sense of urgency of we need this and we need this now to raise a lot of money very quickly. That solution has definitely worked for teams in the past. I've talked to teams that have done that. So anyway, if no one has any questions about that, I'm very happy to close the call here because we are a little over on time. And I will say, for anybody who's watching this on the YouTube or doesn't feel comfortable bringing it up now, we're very open. Nightcrawler is very open about what we spend on champs, and I'm happy to share those numbers with you if you reach out to us. I'm very happy to give you one-on-one advice on costs that we've seen in the past and how we do our budgeting. So we can do this all offline as well. Ryan, your hand's still up. Did you have anything else? Okay, hands down. Alrighty. Well, thank you to everybody. I really like the fact that I didn't have to be in charge of this. So Katie, thank you for leading the charge on this, and for everyone else who participated and gave advice. This has been really good. And I'm guessing this will be a long-standing YouTube rewatch video that'll get a lot of attention about this time of year for years to come. So with that, for those that are traveling champs, I wish you luck, be safe. I hope everybody has a good time. And for those who didn't qualify this year, there's always another chance, and hopefully you'll get a chance to go in the near future. All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your last week before you have to stress and get your robot on a trailer. Have a good one.
Thanks all. Good night.
See ya.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.